I was interested in the future in relation to this because I read about Silicon Valley billionaires and feeling as though they may owe humanity a solution because AI has been predicted to, within maybe even 30 to 50 years, render much of humanity essentially a useless class through mass unemployment. And I wondered if something like Give Directly is to some extent a first-run trial for everyone.
It's interesting. Yeah, you always have to question a little bit why this time will be different than, the Industrial Revolution. But yeah, it's interesting. I sort of had no idea whether the doomsday automation scenarios will play out. I do think Give Directly and the other, both governments and nonprofits who have built this evidence base, that'll be informative for what policy tools we have available. And even if it's not the doomsday, if it's just as automation gets better, as AI gets better, there's just lots of labor market disruption, people finding new jobs, people getting laid off and, training up on a new skill, how cash can play into that, whatever sort of set of policy levers you want in response to that. I think this evidence base will be pretty important for that.
Right. Yeah, maybe I read a conspiratorial type of interest into it. I mean, I know that I heard that executives in Facebook are interested in and donate heavily to things like Give Directly. And I wondered whether the interest was actually born out of this idea that we do need to look at basic universal income at some time, perhaps in the immediate future.
It's interesting. I think the Silicon Valley donors that I've spoken with, I think they come to us more through the kind of effective altruist route versus the fears of an automated future route. But I'm sure those donors exist for us as well.
I was interested also just in terms of your connection to, because I think the focus on empiricism and the science and the social and economic science around it, if your connection to things like the Centre for Open Science, because it seems as though their aims and your aims are very, very comparable, essentially, in a lot of ways.
We don't have any direct relationship to them, but I think we and economics broadly has benefited a lot from improvements in how the sciences approach experiments. And so, for example, all of Give Directly studies are pre-registered, pre-announced, so that you can't just cherry pick the results that end up looking good. There's a pre-analysis plan before you look at the results. So you say, this is how I'm going to analyze the data versus we'll have academics look until they find something interesting. And then, of course, the sort of external evaluators. And so I think we've picked some of the kind of basic structures from improvements in psych and science research.
So there's a sense of transparency to it. I mean, if things don't work or you find things that are counterintuitive, they don't end up in the bottom of the filing cabinet. Those studies don't end up filed away somewhere.
Right, exactly.